Hi, sixth graders, future seventh graders. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Miss Broda, and I'm a literacy teacher here at Mahoney Middle School. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our summer reading recommendations for this summer, the summer of 2021. We chose the following books because we think that you're going to like them, and some of them also relate to topics that you might learn about in seventh grade. Even though we're recommending these books, you are encouraged to read anything that you have access to or are interested in over the summer. These are recommendations, and we just want you to be reading as much as possible throughout the summer months. One of the first activities that teachers tend to do in the fall is some sort of activity around your summer reading experience. They're not going to give you a test or anything like that, so it's nothing for you to be worried about. But it'll be something like writing a letter to your teacher about what you read over the summer, or designing a new book cover, or something like that. So if you read one of these books, or you choose to read something else altogether, just be prepared to share out about what you read when you start seventh grade in the fall. Today we're recommending 10 books from different genres and formats, so we hope that you'll be able to find a book or two from this list that you're excited to read. Our first book is Insignificant Events in the Life of a Cactus by Dusty Bowling. And this book is about a young girl named Aven Green, and she was born without arms. She likes to make up stories about how she lost her arms to shock those around her, often telling people that she lost them in an alligator wrestling match. And the kids at her school laugh at her stories, and they love Aven for who she is. But one day, she finds out that her family is moving across the country to Arizona, where her parents will be running and taking care of a rundown old Western theme park, and she has to start all over. At school, at her new school, she bonds with a boy named Connor, who also feels isolated due to his own disability, and they discover a mystery. And Aven's about to find out that she can solve mysteries, help friends, and face all of her fears, even without arms. This is a fiction book by Dusty Bowling, and there's now a sequel to this called Momentous Events in the Life of a Cactus. So if you read this, there's a second follow-up book that you might enjoy as well. This next book is called The Next Great Polly Fink, and it's by Allie Benjamin. When Caitlin Breen begins a new life at a new middle school in rural Vermont, she is surprised by how different the school is from her previous school. At the Mitchell School, students take care of goats, and they study philosophy. And there are only 11 students in the entire seventh grade. It's definitely different than what Caitlin is used to from her old school. To add to that, nobody in her grade can stop talking about Polly Fink, a student who didn't come back to school this year. Caitlin tries to fit in with her new peers by hosting a Polly-inspired competition to find the school's next great prankster, and she discovers a lot about herself and her new school in the process. This is a fiction book, and it's told through multiple voices, and it also has multiple formats. So there are some interviews and emails and text messages and other ways of sharing the text with the reader. So if you like a mixed reading format, you might like this book. This next book is called Look Both Ways, and it's by Jason Reynolds. Look Both Ways is a tale told in 10 blocks, or 10 short stories, that are all connected. One afternoon, a school bus fell from the sky, but nobody noticed it because the students were too busy with their lives and their activities after the dismissal bell. Each of the short stories follows a different student or a group of students on their walk home from school. And it shares stories about skateboarding, secret handshakes, making jokes, all the things that might happen on the walk home from school. All the things that made them not notice their school bus falling from the sky. If you read this book, you will be following the stories of these students and the distractions and detours that they face on their walks home and in life. This book is by popular author Jason Reynolds, who also wrote middle school favorites such as the book Ghost. This next book is Nathan Hale's Hazardous Tales, One Dead Spy by Nathan Hale. And the Nathan Hale's Hazardous Tales series is a really great graphic novel series about historical figures. And in this particular book, One Dead Spy, Nathan Hale is telling the story about Nathan Hale. I know that sounds confusing, but the author of these books was actually named after this real-life, true historical figure who he's writing this book about. Nathan Hale, the original, not the author, was an officer and a spy for the American rebels during the Revolutionary War. His story shares the unbelievable truths of Nathan Hale from his days at Yale to his unlucky days as an officer during the Revolutionary War. This is a great graphic novel series about history, and you're welcome to read any of the books in this series throughout the summer. Our next book is Unbroken, the young adult adaptation by Laura Hillenbrand. And this is the young adult version of a book by the same title for adults. And this book has also been made into a movie recently. In Unbroken, this is the true story of Louis Zamperini. And Louis Zamperini was a rambunctious child before excelling in track and field. And he even participated in the Berlin Olympics for track. After the Olympics, he served in the military and became an airman during World War II, where he embarked on a journey. This journey led to a doomed flight, a tiny raft, and drifting into the unknown. This is a true story of survival, so if you like books about survival, you might like this book. This is a nonfiction biography. This next book is called Dragon Pearl, and it's by Yoon Ha Lee. Dragon Pearl is part of the Rick Riordan Presents series. Some of you may know popular author Rick Riordan from series such as The Lightning Thief or The Red Pyramid. And the Rick Riordan Presents imprint is a subdivision of the publishing company. And what they do is they gather books by new authors that Rick Riordan appreciates and thinks that you will like. So if you like Rick Riordan books, you'll probably like a lot of the books from this part or this division of his publishing company, the Rick Riordan Presents division. This book is one of those books. It's called Dragon Pearl. And in Dragon Pearl, Min is a 13-year-old girl who has something called fox spirit. And Min runs away to solve the mystery of what happened to her older brother, and she ends up on an adventure that could save the entire planet. On her quest, she meets gamblers, pirates, and vengeful ghosts. Dragon Pearl incorporates Korean folklore into a science fiction adventure story. This next book is called Turning 15 on the Road to Freedom, and it's by Linda Blackmon Lowry. As the youngest marcher in the 1965 Voting Rights March from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama, Linda Blackmon Lowry proved that young adults can be heroes. She was jailed 9 times before her 15th birthday, and Linda fought alongside Martin Luther King Jr. for the rights of African Americans. In this true story and memoir, Linda shows what it means to fight nonviolently and how it felt to be part of changing American history. And this book brings the readers right into the middle of the civil rights movement, and it's told from the perspective of someone who was there and involved. This book is called This Was Our Pact, and it's by Ryan Andrews. In This Was Our Pact, Ben's hometown is celebrating the autumnal equinox, by hosting an annual festival. As part of the festival events, the townspeople set lanterns down the river in honor of a local folk legend. They believe that after the lanterns are set a sail, they soar into the Milky Way and become the stars. Ben and his friends make a pact to follow the lanterns to see where they end up and to see if the folk legend is true. Their plan is to follow the river on their bikes for as long as they have to find the truth. But many of the friends break the pact, leaving Ben alone with Nathaniel, a boy who just doesn't seem to fit in with the rest of the group. But Ben and Nathaniel set off on an adventure, and this adventure includes magic, astronomy, and a talking bear. And this is a graphic novel. This next book is called Undefeated: Jim Thorpe and the Carlisle Indian School Football Team by Steve Shankin. In this nonfiction biography book, the great American sport of football and Native American history come together to tell the story about how Jim Thorpe and Pop Warner created the legendary Carlisle Indian School football team. Known as one of the greatest athletes of all time, Jim Thorpe was a Native American athlete competing at the highest level in football, track and field, and baseball. You might recognize Pop Warner's name as a famous coach who lots of youth football organizations are named after today. The two met in 1904 at a school for Native Americans in Pennsylvania, and they created one of the most successful teams in American football history. And this book also describes Native American history and experiences in the early 1900s. This is a great book choice for anyone who loves football or sports in general, as well as anyone interested in Native American history. And our last book is called Racing in the Rain: My Life as a Dog by Garth Stein. And this book is a fictional book, and it's told from the perspective of a dog named Enzo. Enzo knows he is different from other dogs. Most dogs love to chase cars, but Enzo wants to race them. He learns a lot about racing by watching TV and listening to his best friend Denny, his human, who is an up-and-coming race car driver. Enzo applies the rules of racing to his world, taking on family challenges. He holds in his heart the dream that Denny will be a racing champion, and he learns that life isn't all about going fast. Enzo and Denny have a great relationship and friendship full of spirit and determination and strength, and this book is also now a movie. So those are our summer reading recommendations for rising 7th graders for 2021. And we hope that you can find a book or maybe a couple of books on this list that you are excited to read. Some places that you can find copies of these books to read are Nonesuch Books here in the Mill Creek Plaza in South Portland. We have a great relationship with Nonesuch Books. They do a lot to help Mahoney with getting books into kids' hands, and they do have copies of all of our summer reading books available for you this summer. Another place that you can check is the South Portland Public Library. The librarians at the public library also have a list of our recommended books, and you can check those books out anytime throughout the summer using your public library card. There are other local bookstores in the greater Portland area that are great resources for finding reading materials throughout the summer. Bull Moose Music also has a whole book section here in their South Portland store, and there are also lots of other small local bookstores around. These books are also, most of them, available on Sora. So if you have access to Mahoney's Sora system from a personal computer at home, you can access a lot of these books there as well. And finally, It's always a great idea to trade books with friends throughout the summer. If you pick one book and a friend chooses another book, and then you swap them after you've read them, it's like having two books for the price of one. So I definitely recommend sharing books throughout the summer with people that you know. I used to do that all the time with my friends. It's a great way to get your hands on more books. We hope that you have a great summer, and we look forward to seeing all of you again.